Hello again. This is really exciting to get a chance to introduce along with Jeff, our speaker, Derek McBride tonight. Derek came and spoke. I mentioned, you heard me talk about unity in the community. Derek came and spoke to our board several months ago last year, and he brought the books, and we I had read the book before Derek came, and was so compelled to share it with everybody on the Unity and Community Board, and ended up getting a copy for each of the board members, which I got that from Jeff here to kind of pay it forward. This book, I'm not a big reader of fiction or nonfiction. If it's not a car magazine or a car-related article, that's what I'm usually reading. But I read this sitting down just in two different times. It's such an amazing book. The books are available. The back room, I'm sure that our keynote speakers be willing to sign your copy, but I just want to share with you what a moving story that it is in talking. It's not only history, but it really talks about how things were many, many decades ago in this country. And I think that you'll all be really impressed when you read this story. And I'm going to turn it over here to Jeff, because how I found out about Derek, and we've since become friends and have spoken many times since, but Sharon Moody and I actually were invited by Jeff Chamberlain over to Catapult in Lakeland to come be introduced to Derek and hear him speak. And so with that, I'm going to kind of go backward in time a little bit to Jeff Chamberlain and let him tell you a little bit more about Derek. Jeff?
Thanks, Steve. It's certainly a privilege to be here tonight in Plant City amongst so many great leaders, knowing Mayor Bob, Steve, and Sharon, and many others here in this room. Your community is truly blessed. And it's a pleasure to be introducing my friend Derek McBride tonight. I noticed in the program that Daryl's bio is in there, and I have a copy of the bio. So I thought instead of reading it, since you can read it yourself, if you'll indulge me, I'll go off script and just talk about how Derek and I met and tell you a little bit about what I've learned about Derek. So, I represented public supermarkets on the Lakeland Economic Development Council board a couple years ago. And we largely dealt with medium to big-sized companies. And we decided that we wanted to meet some of the smaller entrepreneurs and some of the community leaders that we never interacted with. So we hired a consultant, and that consultant went out and did some research and came up with some names, and then he paired all the board members up with individuals. And he scheduled meetings for us, and I was paired up with Derek. I did not know Derek. We met at a coffee shop, and the consultant sat there and sort of interviewed us. And he asked us questions you wouldn't normally ask each other at a first meeting. And then he told us he was going to write a haiku poem out of this, which just all seemed very bizarre to us. And it was very uncomfortable, and walked away wondering if I'd ever see or talk to Derek again. And after a couple of weeks, I kept thinking about that there were a lot of things Derek said that really piqued my interest. So I reached out to Derek and asked him if he'd be willing to meet me for lunch one day. And he said, yeah, I'd gladly like to. And so we met for lunch, and we talked about things that you would normally talk about if two people are meeting each other. And those lunches have continued every few months over the past couple of years. And so some of the things I've learned about Derek that I want to share with you tonight are, he's from St. Louis. He's got a great family, good mom and dad, and very good grandfather and grandmother that have influenced his life. He was a very good athlete. He played football at the college level and the professional level with the Dallas Cowboys. He is the proud and doting father of Derek Jr., and he loves to talk about Little D, who is soon going to be Big D, because he's becoming a very big young man. Derek is a very devout Christian man, a very godly man. He's very involved in the community. He has a real heart for the community, and especially for young adults. He really tries to help young adults find a path for success and then help them to stay on that path, and I really appreciate and respect him for that. He's an entrepreneur. He started some companies. He has a great marketing mind. There's a couple of fundraisers in Lakeland that were created by Derek and some others. He's the CEO of a nonprofit, Vision Quest, that he created and still runs to this day. He's a speaker, which is good for us since he's speaking tonight. And as of last year, he's a published author. And like Steve, I enjoyed reading the book. It's about his grandfather, and what an amazing man, and what a great story with a great twist at the end. So with all that, I'd like to welcome my friend, Derek McBride. Please welcome Derek.
I wanted to stay a little bit longer back there, but I knew if I stayed too much longer, Jeff would come back and literally get me. Thank you for the kind words, Jeff. Did you get the money order check that I sent you earlier? Perfect, good. A friend of mine asked me a couple weeks ago, he said, Derek, how do you define success? We were having a conversation, and this friend of mine, he happens to be here, but we get into some really heated discussions and heated debates. And he said, how do you define success? What does success look like to you? And I'm adding to the third one because this is what I want to challenge you today. I'm going to challenge you through the story of how I became a writer and the story of the book. But I want to challenge you, how do you define success? What does success look like to you? And how do you celebrate other people's success? So about 20 years ago, my grandfather, he told me a story. And typically when it comes to the book, it's called One Church for All. What happens is you'll have 10% of people who want to know about the story. They're fascinated about the story. They tell me about the story. But the other 90% are like, how did you become a writer? Because they know two things. I was a football player, and I may not have gone to all my classes when I was in college. So they know that. So a lot of times I like to share the inspirational side of how I became a writer, and then I'll share with you the story. So about 20 years ago, my grandfather, maybe 30, he told me a story about him and a lady who touched his heart. And when he told me the story, I knew immediately that I wanted to share it with the world. The lady's name was Miss Willie. And when I first heard the story, I said, okay, what I want to do is I want to make a movie. I was really excited about it. And I said, I want to make a movie about it. So I went and called all my Hollywood friends, and I called all my friends who knew actresses and actors, and that didn't get very far, right? Because I don't have a whole lot of Hollywood friends. But I was able to get in touch with one lady who was really popular in Hollywood. She has a husband who's a basketball player, and I was able to talk with her, and I said, hey, I want this story, I want it to be on the big screen. She said, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I want to share it with the world. I want it to be on the big screen, and I want it to be in the movie. She said, okay, the first thing you need to do is write a book. I didn't know how to write a book. So I called people, and I called friends, and I called people who knew people, and I did get people who were called ghostwriters, and I was able to contact several ghostwriters. And one ghostwriter wanted $8,000, and one ghostwriter wanted $10,000, and one ghostwriter wanted the rights to the book. And so that dream died right there. 2 years later, I was digging through some stuff, and I maybe had been moving, and my notes for the book came back up. So I started to look into the process again. Who can I help write the book? Who can I help get me to write the book? And I was really excited about it. And then after a year or so, it died down again. I put it out on Facebook and I said, listen, I have this story. If anyone knows any way that they can help me, I need your help. Well, a college buddy of mine reached out and he said, Derek, I've been taking classes and I graduated with American literature degree and I would love to take a stab at trying to write the story. And I said, great, this is awesome. So his name was Laird Gardiner. And on the book, you'll see that I acknowledge Laird in the book. And so I would share with Laird what I wanted him to say, and he would say it. He would send it back to me a week later, and it was amazing. It was exactly what I wanted to say and how I said it. And I knew I had something. And I remember the first time he sent me the email back, I was walking around my house. I got the book. And it may have only been 2 chapters. It may have only been 2 paragraphs. But I was so excited that I finally got someone who understood what I wanted to say and could say it. So a couple weeks later, I gave Laird some more information. We went to Missouri, we did all the recon and all the background work that you have to do. And another 3 weeks later, He had another paragraph. Oh, I was so excited. Another chapter. This is it. I'm on my way. I'm ready to do it. Now, mind you, what you don't know is from the time my grandfather had told me the story to the time I was able to publish the book last May, it was about 15 to 20 years. Okay? 15 to 20 years. What does success look like for you? What did it look like for me? As I began to write the book and as I began to go on the journey through the book, what I thought was success changed. I thought success was having it in the big screen. That changed. I thought it was having a couple of paragraphs. That changed. So a couple months later, we are writing the book. We're doing some great stuff with the book. I'm telling him, here's what I want to say. He was sending it back to me, and it's perfect. Well, I hadn't heard from Laird in 3 or 4 months. Then it went to 6 months. And then it went to a year. And I had been trying to call him, and I said, Laird,